So we're into another international break. And I guess you could either see it as a blessing or a curse, really, depending on whether you view it as a chance for Liverpool to reset after recent disappointments, or really just more time to stew on those bad results that they've had lately. But of course, I also always say that the international break is a really good time to take stock, and I think that's particularly true in terms of examining how the new signings are getting on, because look, we're 11 games into the Premier League season, plenty of other games played in other competitions as well. So we've got a little bit of data built up now to give us a clearer picture of how they are getting on. And of course, one of the most interesting stories so far, and clearly a massive talking point this week, is Florian Wirtz and how he is getting on following that £116 million move from Bayer Leverkusen over the summer. So I'm going to start with, of course, the surface level numbers, really, to sort of see how he's getting on. And we already know, don't we, that they're not fantastic. This is the stick that is being used to beat him at the moment in terms of some of the heavy criticism that he's been getting. And 16 appearances for Liverpool so far, 1,119 minutes and 3 assists in that time and 0 goals. So that is a goal contribution every 373 minutes. As I say, we already know that's not great, but just as a point of comparison, really, you look at his last season for Bayer Leverkusen, 16 goals and 15 assists in 45 appearances, that's 3,392 minutes. So he was averaging a goal contribution, either a goal or an assist, every 109 minutes. So 373 minutes to 109 minutes, we can clearly see we're not seeing the best version of Florian Wirtz in terms of the surface level numbers. But of course, we always want to know, has he been a little bit unlucky? Should he maybe have more goals, more assists? Is it a problem with the team in terms of what they're doing? So the best way to kind of find that out, really, is to peel it all back a little bit and look at some of the underlying numbers. And I want to start with shooting because, of course, as we always say on this channel, that is how you get goals. If you take a lot of shots, you tend to get a decent number of goals as well. And you can see drop off there, not just in the goals column, but also in terms of the amount of shots he's taken. So it's not really a surprise, I would say, that he isn't scoring as many goals. So you look last season in the Bundesliga, 2.83 shots per 90. This season in the Premier League, that is down to 1.57 shots per 90. So he's shooting less frequently, and inevitably he's scoring less frequently, or as it is so far, he isn't scoring at all. And you can see, I've got a graphic here that can show you him compared to his positional peers in the Premier League, so other midfielders, attacking midfielders, and you can see he's not in an outstanding position there, is he, in terms of either shot quality or shot frequency. And just to give you an idea, really, the guys who are in the top right, where the elite kind of in these kind of numbers, Eberechi Eze is up there and Bruno Fernandes. I mean, they are two top-notch attacking midfielders, aren't they? So that is kind of the numbers where you want to be, is shooting a lot and getting high quality shots as well. And so he would like to be a lot nearer to those. And as I say, it's not a huge surprise if you're taking lower quality shots and you're taking less shots than your positional peers, you're going to score less frequently. So that is a big reason, really, why he isn't getting the goals at the moment. And just to show you, as a comparison again with what he was doing in the Bundesliga last season, and I'll show you, here we go again, shot quality and frequency plotted on that chart, and look where he is there, right where you want him to be, really, getting a lot of shots, getting a lot of quality shots, and he's right up there in that corner with, just as another example, I know Musiala from Bayern Munich is there. So clearly he wants to be in that part of the chart, doesn't he, with the Premier League games as well, and that isn't happening at the moment. Now, of course, the question is kind of around the shot quality. Why is it poor? And I think kind of comparison to the shot maps, really, from last season and this one, I think really kind of show and underline about the shot quality that he is getting worse shots, really. You can see from this, obviously, he took a lot more shots last season than he has so far in this one in the Premier League and versus the Bundesliga season. But you can see he got in a lot of finishing areas there, kind of really central, close to the 6-yard box, kind of the ones where you get the tap-ins. You can see for Liverpool so far, you're not seeing loads of those shots, are you? You can see it's only kind of one or two shots there in that kind of finishing area where you'd think that's a gilt-edged opportunity. So as I say, it kind of hammers home, I would say, that he's getting fewer shots, he's getting worse shots, and the inevitable consequence of that is that he's not scoring much. So that is clearly something to work on. He needs to get in those positions better. Is that about kind of timing of your runs? Is it understanding with your teammates? We'll have to kind of wait and see on that front. But it's clear he's not getting the shots that you would want him to do, and that is why he's not scoring at the moment. So not really a case that he's been unlucky with goalkeepers having worldies or defenders throwing themselves in front. There is a problem with his shot getting process that needs to improve. And I think in terms of that, I actually said in my last assessment of how Wirtz was getting on that I felt that he needed to get shots off quicker. And there's one against Manchester City actually at the weekend where it gets blocked, and it felt like he took ages to wind up to take the shot, and inevitably a defender gets in front. So that is a kind of classic symptom of adapting to the Premier League, that you think you've got more time than you do, because the Bundesliga is not as intense. The defenders are less likely to get in front of you. And so we're still seeing that from him. But of course, it is early days, but that is something he needs to get better at as well. Because, if you're still not getting shots very close inside the box, the ones from the edge, you've got to get them off quickly if you're going to have any chance of beating a Premier League goalkeeper. And he isn't doing that at the moment. Now, of course, he wasn't just a goal scorer in the Bundesliga, as I said, also a fantastic creator. And we are seeing actually he's doing a little better in that regard than he is in terms of his goal scoring. I think in terms of the creativity, we're definitely seeing a lot more from him. I mean, it kind of is borne out by the numbers, isn't it? I mean, he's got 0 goals so far, but he does have 3 assists. And there is some good stuff in his underlying numbers here that kind of encourages you a little bit. So he's created 16 chances in the Premier League so far. That puts him 86th percentile. So only 14% of midfielders are currently doing better at the moment. So it's not a great, huge number there. And so, it's not a million miles away from where you'd want him. You want him in the 90th percentile and upwards, because that's where he was previously in the Bundesliga, but it's not a million miles away. So he is doing something there creatively in the Premier League that I think, bodes well for the future. And as you can see here as well, it's got a comparison here that he's also doing pretty well for shot creating actions from both open play and dead ball situations as well. So you can see there he had 5.67 shot creating actions per 90 in the Bundesliga, and that is down slightly to 4.31 in the Premier League, but he is 94th percentile in the Bundesliga, 93rd percentile in the Premier League. So it just shows he's still in that elite level. You're always going to maybe have fewer shot creating actions in the Premier League than the Bundesliga, because it's a harder league to be an attacker in. So, you're probably going to get less shots. You look at what Kane is doing at Bayern Munich. Look at what Luis Diaz is doing when they go to Bayern. You're going to get more shots. You're going to get more goals. Those numbers are going to go up. But for him to be ranked 93rd percentile in terms of shot creating actions, I think is massively encouraging, really. It shows that he's showing kind of elite qualities at Premier League level in terms of that creation. And I think this is one where you could kind of just see some improvement in terms of the numbers of assists that he's getting, just with, maybe a little bit more luck. So I said he's not getting unlucky with his shooting, but maybe in terms of his creating. And I mean, you can already think, can't you, thinking about that Szoboszlai chance against Real Madrid that he puts on a plate. It's not even a poor finish, it's an unbelievable save from Courtois. Salah hitting the post against Atletico Madrid again with a great opportunity that usually he would bury. And so, as I say, there's real reason, I think, for encouragement in terms of what he's doing creatively there. And I do think those numbers are going to keep going upwards, because he is ranked highly for creating chances, for shot creating actions within the Premier League and amongst his positional peers as well. So that is encouragement. And I think one of the reasons as well why I think this will continue, and I think he will create more chances going forward as well, is that Liverpool are consistently getting him the ball in the areas that he needs. And this chart will show you as much. So you can see he's right up there for final third involvement, box involvement. That is exactly what you want from Florian Wirtz, by the way. You want to get him touches in and around the area to give you that little bit of magic to create an opportunity. And just to give you an idea, just around him there on that chart, the likes of Phil Foden, Morgan Gibbs-White, who's having a fantastic season again. Well, he's maybe dropped off a little bit this season, but he's a very, very good player, Morgan Gibbs-White. And Foden seems to be really coming back up to form. And they are some of the attacking midfielders who get into those areas and are really dangerous. So Liverpool are helping him in that regard. They're getting the ball to him where he needs to. Maybe not in the finishing positions, but in terms of the creative positions, absolutely. And so, look, if you're putting up a lot of shot creating actions, if you're creating a lot of chances, and you're getting the ball in the final third and the box a lot, or around the box, that really bodes well in terms of you being a good creator going forward. And he's already got 3 assists. I think a lot more to come from him, even this season, as he adapts, I think, in terms of that. So I think the creating looking a lot more encouraging and more hopeful on that really than the shooting at the moment, which we do need to see improvements on. And one thing I want to mention as well before kind of wrapping up really is something that you don't really buy Florian Wirtz for, but I think it is worth pointing out, and that is what he's doing on the defensive end of things. So I'm going to bring up a graphic here that really underlines it, because I think this is quite surprising really, is that he's making more tackles, more interceptions, more blocks and clearances than he was in his final Bundesliga season. And you know what, I say it's surprising, but you can kind of tell that he's not the strongest, he's not the most robust, but he's getting about a bit, isn't he? And, you know, throwing himself into stuff. He's ranking quite highly for recoveries as well, because, you know, he's there to kind of nick the ball back. So he is a good presser. He's not, you know, he can defend from the front and he is good at that. And I do think we've seen that strength there. And, you know, I remember that he covered the most ground of any Liverpool player or any player on the pitch, full stop, against Real Madrid. And that's even more than Dominic Szoboszlai, by the way. And so, you know, you don't want him to do the defensive things a lot, or, you know, you don't want that to be the sum total of what he's doing. But I do think it's encouraging that he is putting that work in and he's showing he can be part of a solid team by definitely putting the effort in. And, you know, what you can also say about that is that you can't ever level a lack of effort at him at the moment. You know, things maybe are not going perfectly for him, but he's definitely trying. That is for sure. And I think we're seeing that in terms of the distance that he's covered. As I say, all those defensive markers as well, he's doing really well on. So I think that really kind of bodes well, again, that he is putting the effort in. He's trying his absolute best, that's for sure. And I'm sure that's the same in terms of getting better in terms of his shots and his creativity in the league as well. So, you know, he seems to have the right mentality towards that. And I think we are seeing that in his defensive work. So I guess in summary, really, clearly some things to work on. As I say, I think shooting is one area where he needs to get better, but I also think some encouraging stuff in there as well. And I guess that kind of rings true of his performances in general, doesn't it? You know, we've seen flashes, we've seen real moments of quality, but not the full package just yet. You know, he's definitely shown enough, I think, to kind of persist with, and the effort just cannot be questioned. And I also liked, actually, that Arne Slot said about him in a recent breakout that I was part of. We do the embargoed section in the press conferences, and I was fortunate enough to be in there, and he was talking about Wirtz, and this is a few weeks ago, and he described him. I've got the quote here. He said, he's an artist, but he can be mean as well. And what he was saying really is that he's got that competitive edge you need to compete, and he you know, he won't just, you know, if he gets beaten in a tackle, he won't just take it. He wants to get back in. He'll put his foot in to tackle himself. But he's a competitor. And that's how you get to the level that he has, is because he's fiercely competitive. And look, he's finding some real competition here in the Premier League, isn't he? And he's finding it difficult. But that's why he wanted to come here, because it is tricky, because it will make him a better player as well. So, you know, we're seeing that learning process going on at the moment. But I think the mentality is definitely there, and that I think that the manager saying that, I think, is encouraging. And also, look, let's not forget, he is as well only 22 years old. He's younger than Harvey Elliott, and the Premier League is notoriously difficult to adapt to as well. And you know, I had a conversation recently with someone at Liverpool, kind of off the record, this one, and it was just about the fact that there was a little bit surprised that it's taken him time, but that was primarily because when he came into training initially in pre-season, everyone was blown away by the quality that he's got. So they are a little surprised it's taken him time to actually apply that to the league. But there is serious faith in this player behind the scenes, and nobody's kind of thinking, oh, we're panicking yet, that we've bought a dud, or this isn't going to work out at all. There is major faith that Florian Wirtz will come good. And I think for all the reasons I've outlined, really, is that, you know, the mentality's there, the creativity is already there, just a couple of things that he needs to work on. And of course, I understand the criticism. I understand that you need to see more and more as the season progresses, and it is his first season, because people will be concerned when you pay up to £116 million for a player. That price tag comes with expectations that a signing does have to meet. But I just think someone of this talent, someone of this mentality, that it will come eventually. And I think we're seeing signs on occasion, and that those signs will just grow and grow as the season progresses, and eventually, hopefully, by the end of the season, we will see the best version of Florian Wirtz in a Liverpool shirt. So, going to wrap it up there. Do let me know your thoughts on all that data, thoughts on Wirtz's performances in general so far. Do you think, you know, how do you think Slot should get the best out of him? Do you want to see him in that central position? Do you want to see him wide left? Let me know your thoughts on that. And when do you think is his best performance so far, and what does he need to do to replicate that? Please do let me know. your thoughts on that in the comment section as usual. And of course, if you can like and subscribe, I'd appreciate that. Very, very close to that 40,000. I keep banging on about it, sorry, but we are agonizingly close now, so I really want to get over the line in terms of that. But I'm going to leave it there and say thanks very much for watching. I'll see you guys very soon.